No. My Windows, like, preview thing where it shows you the weather, I hovered over it. And there's a tab that says, we found $3 cash back, and it's just like a picture of 2 aux cords. What? What did they mean by that?
I don't know.
Did they find the $3 inside the aux cords?
Yes.
Did they find the life hack? How'd they get it in there? How'd they get it out of there? Oh, they just found it in there and they're not gonna give me my cash back? Dang. Dang. Dang.
Dream. I'm going to run off the assumption that mine is probably alright.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. Damn.
I think I'm gonna have to. Never mind, I can't say that on stream.
Oh,
I don't think we can save this guy, Farina. Alright, ladies and gentlemen.
But you know what we can save? All of Fontaine. Anyways. Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back.
I thought you were gonna say, like, we can save the people on Rokenjima, and then I was gonna be like, how do I tell him?
How do I tell him we can't do that either? Oh. We can save Maria's happiness.
That's pretty easy.
That one involves killing everyone on Rokenjima.
Yeah, it does. Excuse me. It's Thursday. I've been up. I've been working. I'm tired. But I took a nap. I ate food.
Yep.
I'm here.
Yep.
I'm ready.
I didn't do either of those things. I did eat food, but it was like much earlier today. But yeah, welcome back to Umineko.
Yep.
Getting right back in to where we last left off. If I remember correctly, we had left Battler after he had just had a big discussion with the servants and Maria about the witch, Beatrice, and whether she was real or not.
Yeah.
And the servants were acting super sus the entire conversation. Maria was too, but Maria's always like that.
True.
So that wasn't weird, but the servants were all being real sketchy.
It's like if the witch was a religion that wasn't a common one, and then so like Maria believes it and everyone's like, oh haha, Maria, you're so silly. But then when the adult people believe in it, everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah, precisely. Precisely.
I will say I'm also invigorated for this stream because I came off of a hot dub on Tuesday after beating Castlevania 1 in one stream.
Oh, yeah?
Let's freaking go.
Let's freaking go. I almost said something that I can't say on stream. Oh, it involved hail.
I was thinking the same thing.
So let's go ahead and get right back into it then.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, let me... The voices.
The voices.
After a meal, some people tend to head to the bathroom, while others prefer to relax for a bit. Dang, some people have the food go through them that fast.
I know I do.
Okay. It seemed that several people had left the parlor, just like I did when I went to the kitchen to drink some water. Oh yeah, the whole situation with the gun also happened right before this. In the end, Aunt Natsuhi reluctantly retracted her order that everyone remain packed into the parlor, on the condition that no one headed out on their own or strayed too far. In any case, if 11 people are shut up in the same room starting early in the morning, the air will start to stagnate.
Dang.
Also, quite some time had passed, so everyone was starting to recover from the shock of that morning, and their sense of danger might have been weakening, too. However, it was a certain fact that 6 people had been killed inside this mansion. Well, okay, yeah, no, I was about to say it wasn't inside the mansion, but it very well could have been. So no one was completely negligent.
Yeah.
So whenever they went out into the hallway for a breath of fresh air, trying to act tough, they would quickly get scared of standing there isolated and would eventually return to the parlor.
So that we're actually doing something that you would never expect in Umineko. We're doing we're skipping forward a bit. He's just describing what happens for the next couple hours.
Finally.
Yeah.
I guess it's like the north wind and the sun.
Of course.
If you force someone to stay shut in, they'll resist. But if you tell them to do whatever they want, they'll come back obediently. People really do like not doing what they're told.
Yes.
When the servants finished cleaning up from the meal, they returned obediently to the parlor, just as Aunt Natsuhi had told them to, and sat on a sofa near the entrance, patiently awaiting orders. Maria, almost as though she had suddenly finished playing witches, had returned to the pure Maria I knew well, saying,
Dang.
What in the world happened back there? I hadn't felt even an atom of the presence of this person called Beatrice, who was supposedly standing behind me, invisible. However, it felt like I had glimpsed a little of that presence inside Maria.
You're right. When Maria starts talking about witches, her personality changes. Battler-kun, you also saw it down by the beach yesterday, right?
You mean that scorpion keychain? No, I don't mean like when her feelings were hurt. I'm talking about her having a dual personality or something. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. That thing Maria did when she was talking about the magic circle does happen every now and then. It's freaky though. Apparently, Jessica had spotted that Maria a few times. I just happened to catch it at a bad moment, and was pretty freaked out seeing it for the first time. So, what is that? Does Maria have a dual personality or something?
Yeah.
Or are you saying that her spiritual sense really is that strong and she's being possessed by a spirit or whatever?
No, I don't think it's that. Haven't you ever experienced it? When you were small, didn't you ever want to be someone other than yourself? Holy moly. We're getting topic up in here.
When humans are born, no one has any individuality. I had a birth defect. However, when they reach their growth period, their sense of self starts to be born.
Yeah. I was born on Christmas, so
true. Both of us have a W. We're special and different.
When I was born, decides my personality. I love astrology.
They want to be different than other people. But since everyone else in their class is learning the same things at the same rate and being forced into the same lifestyle, of course they aren't going to find anything that makes them different from everyone else around them. Once they realize that, the first thing they do is start breaking the rules in what's called their rebellious stage. Since everyone else follows the rules, they want to show off their individuality by breaking them.
Rules are made to be broken.
True. So, even those who try to act tough, mocking everyone... Yeah, that was right. So even those who try to act tough, mocking everyone around them and calling them childish, can actually be viewed as cute kids searching for themselves, if you look at it this way.
I won't.
Well, I'm lecturing about all this like I'm so smart, but I actually got it secondhand from George Aniki. I myself was once one of those embarrassing guys who thought it was cool to act like a little bastard.
Dang.
Well, that was when I was at the age where you try to show off for the opposite sex. You're 19 or 17? Are you 17 or 19?
It's somewhere in that range.
I feel like you're still in that ballpark, bud. I'm 22 and I feel like I'm still kind of in that ballpark.
I met an old man today at work that's still in that ballpark. The main feature of the growing period lies in an impulse to break away from your life as a kid, like a chick trying to crack open the shell of their egg. Do you know what makes children and adults different?
Age? I mean, yeah. Or do you mean size? Some adults know, not size.
No, it's experience.
Those
XP.
other two things were kind of correct as well, though, George.
Nuh-uh. Adults can look down on children because children have very little life experience. The reason they snort at everything children say is because they think kids know nothing about the real world.
Yeah, I understand that. When you're a kid, you talk like you've got life all figured out somehow, trying to act like an adult. No matter what kids say, adults just snort at them and say they're too naive, or that they'll understand when they get older, or something. Well, it's probably true, but to a kid, it's just annoying. Like they're being looked down upon. I get it. It's a question of knowledge and experience. Well, I guess you're right that there's no reason to respect a person for their age if they've just wasted their lives.
Therefore, during the period when they try to separate themselves from other children, they also try to take on personality traits different from those around them. And if knowledge and experience is what separates kids and adults...
I get it. If they know something no one else knows, it becomes part of their identity. You know, when I was in elementary school, I'd learn things no one else knew, get things no one else had, wear things no one else wore, and become a bit of a hero for it. I'll bet you've done the same thing, Badler. Yeah. There was definitely an age when I wanted to excel in some skill or other. I see. So that's because I was trying to separate myself from being a child, or going through my growing period, in other words.
If you put a positive spin on it, the growing period forces you to separate yourself from others, thereby pushing you to gain skills and knowledge no one else has. This is also interesting from a sociological standpoint. Dang! Because people hate being like everyone else. They try to learn skills other people don't know. In this way, society can acquire the broad range of skills it needs to survive. Whoa, they're
getting a little broad here.
This is a great line. The quality of the gods' programming is truly surprising.
Thanks, George.
Oh, they're going
Better
deep.
call him Curious George.
True. Wait, why?
I don't know. He's weird.
No, that's what. Yeah.
Well, unique personality traits can also be negative, right?
No.
Like if, say, everyone in the class was studying hard, but I was the only one slacking off, trying to stand out. Okay, that last bit really was true about me.
Dang.
It's only recently that I've been able to thank the middle school teacher who slapped me after school.
What?
1980s.
True.
But, well, I'd try to jump over things no one else could. Sprint as fast as I could, trying to lap those guys with good grades when we did a marathon. I just felt like doing it. It was in my nature that if I couldn't study well, then at least I could get back at them by exercising. I see. So I really did go through a proper growing period.
Good for you.
I guess boys really do tend to focus more on physical stuff. But you know, girls of the same age tend to focus more on mental, spiritual things. Oh boy, here we go. Have you heard of astrology? No.
True.
I'll bet there were groups of girls in your classes that got really interested in pretty much astrology. Interested in fortune telling and their spiritual senses.
That's kind of interesting because that's almost a little cross-cultural because it was always the girls that had those little handmade fortune teller doodads, even in Western school. That's crazy. There's probably something there.
Do a study psychology, boy.
No, I don't wanna. I study the workplace now.
Do a study but frame it around the workplace psychology, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, there were. Why are you doubling up? What? They'd come over, asking me for my sign and my blood type, and then they'd laugh. Ah, I thought so.
Dang.
It really got on my nerves. No matter which class you go to, girls like fortune telling. Deciding whether your spirit sense is strong or weak, what your sensitivity is,
why?
Whether you can see the unseeable, that kind of thing definitely happened to me.
That's because fortune telling and spiritual senses are things that aren't taught in school. Oh. To girls who tend to be more introverted. Now, I don't know about that, but I'll let him cook. It's a genre that's easy to build an identity upon, and one that holds a lot of interest for them.
Japanese people don't get to learn about their spiritual senses and how they're connected to the supernatural world?
Bleach? Anyway.
I just like the way you said it. And just like how when boys enter their growing period, they start to act tough and rebel against. I don't like that they've dubbed this growing period.
It doesn't sound good.
No. And rebel against adults. When girls enter their growing period, they start getting interested in that kind of thing. Well, I didn't though.
You're unique. You have individuality. Yeah.
So, Maria having so much interest in the occult, isn't that rare among girls her age?
No, it absolutely is.
Even if we accept that, I wonder if it explains that creepy dual personality thing. Actually, I think I could probably accept that explanation more or less.
As you just said, becoming an adult means gaining knowledge and experience. So, to gain that, it's necessary for children to learn all sorts of things and break free from childhood. However, there are certain convenient delusions that you see often in the world of children, both now and in the past. Do you know what I mean?
You see it all the time in manga and anime, right? It's kind of like that. Like, you've got memories from a previous life that start to resurface. Like you're being possessed by the soul of the great something or whatever. Or it could be that a sleeping gene gets awakened. Or maybe a sealed power or memory returns. There's all kinds. For some reason, stuff like that's really popular at that age. Why is that?
All of those examples you just mentioned are illusions that let children immediately add to their sum of knowledge and experience. If a 9-year-old girl says she has a 1,000-year-old witch possessing her, then she gains a 1,009-year-old identity. Dang!
Holy. So basically, studying is annoying. But these delusions are convenient for people who want to brag about having a skill no one else has, amazing the people around them. So you could brag about something without having to work hard or study.
It's called lying.
True. I see. Isn't that a kid's greatest dream? I hate how the amount of times Badler says, I see, to things.
Yeah, I know. Soka. Just imagine
Soka.
it. Furthermore, in their desire to separate themselves from being kids, they always project an image of their ideal self. And it's not rare for that desired self to become an alternate personality. Even you, Battler-kun, probably had a slightly different personality at home and at school, right? It'd probably be embarrassing if your friends at school saw how you were at home. At school, you try to project yourself as you want to be, but home is where you're your true self.
So in other words, I'm changing my personality depending on the situation. Are you trying to say having multiple personalities is actually really common?
Well, okay, yes, but they're not. I wouldn't call them multiple personalities.
True,
that's a bit
I would
of a
also
misnomer.
say, yeah, no, that
I've studied
it's like
that.
Isn't it like the idea of you just have like it's like putting on a different set of clothes, pretty much? It's something that pretty much everyone does.
It's different facets, is what they're typically referred to. Your multifaceted self, depending on your environment.
A girl who's a fan of the occult might say she's being possessed or awakened. Honestly, There are some kids who can change their personality so much it's creepy. And some boys do it too, right? Guys who say they've blown their top and suddenly turn into some overplayed violent character. I'm just thinking the mental image of some guy being like, "Oh, I've blown my top."
I just think of like Yosemite Sam.
Popeye sound effect.
Yeah.
Steam blowing out of the ears.
Woo! Yep.
I'll bet they think it's pretty cool, but it's painful to watch. I've started like melding Jessica and Battler's voices together.
Jattler.
Let's sum this all up. So you're saying, more than anything, that even if a girl about Maria's age shows a creepy second personality like she did a minute ago, it isn't such a rare or unusual thing.
So no, she's definitely weird. That's weird. Simply put, that's right. No, it's not. Identity is an important factor when building up one's sense of self. That's true. These are two separate things, though.
Where's your degree in psychology, George?
He's got 15. It's the 80s, so it doesn't count. If you make fun of it, it could actually cause children to go back into their shells.
He is literally a trust fund kid, so...
Yeah. So it's important to go along with them to some degree. Although the broad-mindedness of the parent determines whether they play along in full or not.
Quick flash to Rosa beating Maria.
Yeah.
Aniki, I can't believe you're Bro!
Too soon! Oh.
Oh my god! You sound like you've already raised kids through middle school.
If you take that line out of context, like he suddenly just says, "I can't believe you're single. That's crazy what happened to Shannon." Like,
yeah. That's crazy that Shannon's dead. So I wonder if Aunt Rosa also knew much about Maria's dual personality. Emphasis on knew. Past tense, she's dead.
Yeah.
She knew about it. Just between us, Aunt Rosa really hated it if you couldn't guess from when she beat Maria in front of all of us.
Disciplined. No.
She said it was unpleasant and that Maria was becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of the class. You know, like she said in front of us while she was beating Maria.
That's what Kinzo said. She was unsightly or unpleasant or something.
True. We have a second opinion on the unsightliness of Maria. So anytime Maria started talking about the occult or laughing like a witch, she'd slap her. And it looks like Maria stopped talking that way in front of her.
Those are called survival instincts.
Maybe that thing back there was just a little game from a girl facing her growing period. Just a girl trying to show that she was different and independent by holding interest in witches and the occult. And since she wanted to be different from herself, young as she was switching between her normal personality and the personality of her ideal, a witch.
So, like...
Are you getting that train horn in the background right now?
I don't hear a train horn.
Oh,
now.
okay. Good, that's good.
I don't...
What, what's wrong? Is there a problem?
Like, to some degree, they kind of spitting right now. Like, if you don't have the knowledge that we have from finishing the episode, it's a little true that she could just be a kid who's, like, really likes occult stuff. But when she is, like, intimately aware of different symbolage and phrases that are basically out of the Ars Goetia, or however you say it, that's where you draw the line and say, okay.
Really interested in the occult and magic. She wants to be different. Produce it.
Well, let the story
She
cook.
has a really strong desire to be different.
We know what will happen, and it is Happy Maria.
At first, I'd found that very disturbing. But after being lectured by George Aniki, it felt like this was a path that everyone walked down at one time or another. I haven't told anyone, but when I was in kindergarten, I joined up with a little gang of kids trying to form an Earth Defense Force, saying we'd help protect peace on Earth.
No way.
My face turns red when I remember how, during what we called battle practice, we would chant, EDF! EDF! Earth Defense Force reference?
Yep.
Just like usual, Maria was relaxing, immersed in the TV, oohing, and laughing just like any girl her age. But on the inside, another personality, that of the ideal witch she respected and blindly accepted, was sleeping. But that wasn't anything extraordinary. It was perfectly natural for a girl of her age.
Okay.
I've calmed down a little. The shock from my bizarre experience in the kitchen just now is fading away. Even if I hadn't talked to Aniki and Jessica, I still might be frightened by the idea that an invisible witch is standing right behind me. Okay, but like, 3 whole other people besides Maria were also saying that, bro.
True.
I feel like you're downplaying that part.
Also, yeah, he didn't say a single thing to them about the servants agreeing with that, huh?
Yeah. George briefly was like, that's why adults have to go along with children sometimes. But still, 3 whole of them, I mean, one of them's like the same age, but 2 of them are like kind of old and wizened. And like... However, can I really accept that as an explanation for what had happened back there?
You gotta answer that question yourself, bozo.
If it had just been Maria, I could have explained it as the fickle delusions of a growing girl. Oh, okay, here we go. Maybe he is about it. Yeah, okay. But Genji-san, Kanon-kun, and Kumasawa-bachan had also been there. None of them had denied what Maria said. They silently accepted that Beatrice exists. I was starting to feel a little uneasy. Starting? 6 people are dead.
Yeah, true.
Aunt Ava's position was that no 19th person existed. That the crime was an inside job tied to the family quarrels. On the other hand, Aunt Natsuhi's position was that the culprit was hiding somewhere outside the mansion. So she rejected the possibility of an inside job and supported the idea that a 19th person existed. And in the kitchen, Maria and the servants had also supported the idea of a 19th person. But according to them, this 19th person isn't human. They said it was an invisible witch carrying out some mysterious plan. Is there a 19th person or not?
Oh.
And is the culprit human or a witch? For some reason, I couldn't just laugh off any of those possibilities. Not even the most ridiculous story about the witch.
Oh, here we go.
Jessica, all I know about the story of the witch is that the adults made it up to keep the kids too scared to enter the forest. But is the story different here in the mansion? I feel the same way you do, okay? I think it was just a stupid ghost story that parents made up so their kids would listen to them. But I can't deny that the atmosphere inside the mansion makes it a little hard to say it out loud.
After all, Grandfather has proclaimed that Beatrice exists. And because of their position, the servants can't doubt that. Even Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsuhi don't want to get into a fight with him, so on the surface they go along with it. So it's probably fair to say that doubting the existence of Beatrice is taboo to those who live and work in this mansion. Unlike the rest of us who only come here once a year. Is that right?
Jessica took a deep breath in admiration. It looked like Aniki had guessed right. It's just like you say. No one really believes it on the inside. But on the outside, they accept that she exists. See, it's just like the way some people are about God. Damn!
My analogy from earlier comes full circle.
Even if they know God doesn't exist, they are using capital G God. They feel like it'd be uncouth if they actually said it out loud. I thought Battler was going to say, how do you know God doesn't exist?
How do you feel about God?
How do you think the servants feel about it? Are they just going along with it because grandfather, their employer, says that she exists? Well, I don't really know the details, but between the servants, the story about Beatrice has been treated like a sort of ghost story. Remember yesterday, when Shannon was talking to us down by the beach? That story about how one night, when she was doing the rounds in the mansion, she saw something unsettling? She did say something like that, didn't she? Back then, I thought she was just being really nice to help improve Maria's mood. But it felt like she was serious when she said it. That's right. She definitely said it. She definitely said the same kind of thing that Genji and the rest had all unanimously declared back in the kitchen.
Oh, I thought I was done with you.
In addition, some servants have also seen will-o-wisps and glittering butterflies dancing around. Kanan-kun also saw something like that when he went patrolling one night. And recently, you often hear servants talking about strange footsteps heard inside the mansion near midnight. We've whispered together that the Beatrice-sama in the portrait sometimes makes herself invisible and walks through the mansion. It happened a while ago, but even I have heard footsteps while patrolling at night that resemble these stories.
That's right. She definitely said that. Definitely. Exactly the same thing that I had been told just now.
Oh, you kidding me?
But there's nothing to be afraid of. Beatrice-sama is another ruler of this mansion, separate from the master. So there's no need to be unnaturally afraid. If you respect her, I hear she won't do anything bad.
Oh, this is a change. However, she can be quite terrifying if you don't respect her, right?
Correct. I've heard that just before I began working here, someone who spoke badly about Beatrice-sama fell down the stairs and quit after receiving a large injury to their back. Because of that, there was a rumor between the servants that Beatrice-sama's anger had been brought down upon this person.
If you don't respect her... No, sorry.
If you don't respect her,
True.
you'll suffer her wrath and get hurt.
So, to the servants, Beatrice's existence is just as credible as the story that if you pull pranks on Inari-san, you'll receive Kitsune-sama's curse.
Dang.
Of course, even though everyone accepts that curses and the like don't exist in the modern era, people are still afraid and still have a little respect for them. You often see it when, in a residential area, someone is building a house and they'll call a Shinto priest for a ceremony to honor the god of the plot of that land. Or the plot of land. You might think that was just a big waste of time and money, but it is said that if the workers don't do that, a big accident will occur, so they never neglect to do it. You also hear about how, if an Inari shrine is carelessly removed during a town replanning, there'd be a curse by Kitsune-sama. I think I might have read somewhere that when the occupying forces were trying to expand an airport, they tried to remove an Inari-san that was in the way, and the workers kept getting struck down by mysterious fevers. Even in modern cities like Tokyo, it wasn't rare to see modern buildings packed all around an old Inari shrine, leaving the shrine itself untouched. And this wasn't limited to Japan. It's probably similar to how foreigners baptize babies.
Well,
if I remember right, by Christian doctrine, if unbaptized souls have even the slightest amount of sin, they will still go to hell. Putting water on a child's forehead doesn't do anything but make them cry. Depends on the child. But if by doing just that, parents can prevent their children from going to hell, they will happily go through with that ceremony.
when he was comparing the Inari shrines, I thought he was going to talk about like how Native American grounds are typically left undisturbed. Typically.
That is a big thing in the U.S. is being like, is it haunted? Built on top of an Indian burial ground.
Or just like the places, I don't know, they're not called preservations because we have them here. Like there are the places out like west, but like in the Midwest and eastern side, there's like the mounds that are just chilling. Like no one's building on top of them because everyone's like, yeah, not happening.
Well, I think also they're kind of certain ones are considered like heritage sites and stuff. So they're like the same thing as like national parks.
Good.
Where it's like you can't build stuff there. I know Serpent Mound is like that. Ohio gang, Serpent Mound. Anyways, in short, even in this modern society of reason, we were still unable to throw away every trace of belief and fear. You could even say that we accept certain sorts of supernatural things, though in a passive way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Maybe the only difference is that on this island... Oh wait, maybe the only difference on this island is that Beatrice is the object of that worship.
Yeah.
So in other words, if anything happens that doesn't seem explainable in human terms, it's called the work of Beatrice.
Yeah, bad juju.
I think Shannon-chan said it herself. Windows and doors and locks that were tightly shut would be open the next time you went to check them. Lights that should have been on went out, and lights that should have been out were turned on. And if I remember, even Jessica was joking about it, saying it was also the work of Beatrice when she couldn't find her bag in the morning. Your memory's pretty good. Normally, you'd say some little imps took them, but on this island, it's Beatrice. Well, it's all pretty stupid, though.
This mansion has been standing for about 30 years by now, hasn't it? It's natural for things that old to get their fair share of ghost and occult stories. Like the 7 mysteries at a school. Those are so crazy.
But that's where I'll spin the chessboard around.
Woo! First one.
Yeah! Huh? Simply put, on this island there's a rule that Beatrice gets blamed for anything that couldn't have been done by humans. Things that humans can't do. How many humans are here? 18. In other words, the culprit is using the rules of this island to make it look like a witch committed this crime. Which proves that they desperately want us to think a 19th person did it. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. What do you mean you don't like it? Let's assume some invisible 19th person exists and wants people to know they exist. If it were me, I'd do it with even more perfect timing.
What do you mean by perfect timing?
Well, the crime took place sometime between the middle of the night and dawn, right? We had some people who were talking together until the middle of the night, some people on night shifts, and some people who'd returned to their rooms and were sleeping. Everyone's alibi is really vague, so there's plenty of room to suspect that the crime was an inside job. George Aniki, Aunt Eva probably told you too, right? That there's a good chance this crime was an inside job?
Yes. I guess.
In other words, if this invisible 19th person really exists and wants to let us know it, the first crime was a complete failure. No. In the first place, they chose the wrong time of day to do it. If this invisible 19th person really wanted to show themselves, they had to make sure that the crime took place under conditions which proved that the remaining 12 people were all innocent. As long as there's a single human we can suspect, this 19th person's attempt to highlight their presence fails. That's why near midnight, when everyone's alibis are at their vaguest, the 19th person's existence is also at its vaguest. And yet, the culprit chose to commit the crime at that time.
I was drinking. By committing the crime, then one of the 18 would obviously be suspected. And yet, someone handed Maria the letter and called themselves a witch, even though everyone denies they did it.
In other words, you're trying to say that one of the 18 is trying to make it look like a 19th person called Beatrice exists? That's a pretty crazy idea. I think Mom's theory about someone hiding outside the mansion is a bit more credible.
Occam's razor, Jessica, screw you.
Occam's razor, bozo.
Yeah.
Wait, no, shut up, Jessica. Occam's razor. Badler, don't tell me you actually think someone in this room is the culprit. I do. Someone's trying to force us to accept that Beatrice exists. That's right. This whole thing started as far back as the letter last night.
That was last night. It feels like a year ago.
I don't have any basis or proof. It was a year ago. But with the chessboard turned around, this is my best guess. We are kind of just ignoring the fact that what if this is just a really amateur killer who isn't doing everything perfect and isn't a mastermind like you're making them out to be?
I gotta say, my mind's stuck on it now. I'm like a bajillion % gonna make a homebrew D&D item called Occam's Razor. There probably is one, but I'm gonna make a better one.
Seriously, that's too crazy. You're sure you haven't been reading too many weird detective novels?
However, it's an angle we can't ignore. Whether there's a 19th person or not, the culprit's definitely planning something involving that rule about this island. Just now, listening to Batlacoon talk, I remembered something that's a little disturbing. Barely visible on the left side.
Something disturbing?
Yes. Do you remember? Beatrice's letter. It said that Beatrice was going to collect interest. And by interest, it mentioned everything of the Ushiromiya family.
Jessica and I thought back on what Maria had read aloud the previous night. Yeah, it said that. It definitely said that. Definitely said that. The collection of the interest was going to take place shortly, but if the riddle of the gold could be solved, she'd lose that right.
Grandfather received the gold and rebuilt the Ushiromiya family. In other words, according to Beatrice, everything created using the gold as capital counts as part of the interest. Which means...
That's pretty scary for a joke, Aniki. You don't mean everything of the Ushiromiya family. In other words, everything that grandfather gave birth to? In other words, everyone with grandfather's blood flowing through their veins? In other words, all of our parents? In other words, us because they had sex and made us?
In other words, the servants, because screw them, I guess. If you interpret the letter that way, these murders are just Beatrice legitimately collecting interest. If that's the case, these crimes will continue. Because the collection of interest is still only halfway completed. Yeah, I'd like to see that hold up in Judge Judy.
Whacker! George turned around, looking over the parlor. There were still many people who held the name Ushiromiya. And because Goro-sama and Shanan-chan had been killed, we knew that not even the servants were safe. Despite lacking the Ushiromiya name, they are technically part of what he built.
Oh, true, they do be furniture.
So, are they planning to kill us all? But that's weird, George Nissan. In that case, why only 6 people? They should have been able to kill a lot more. At worst, it should have been possible for them to assault everyone while they were sleeping and kill them in a single night.
Dang.
Why didn't they do that?
You doom posting out here, Jessica. The Santa Claus, the special clause. If someone manages to solve the riddle of the gold, their right to the interest will be lost. And remember how the letter ended. It challenged us all to solve the riddle of grandfather's gold.
Jesus. It looks like we're finally understanding the culprit's message. Yeah, it took you long enough.
Yeah.
Took you, what, 3 streams since we've read the letter?
It's been a mere 2 hours since the last murder.
In other words, the culprit's telling us to try and solve the riddle. Yes! That is what we just spent 10 minutes saying, yes. On top of that, they're saying that if we just sit around, they'll keep collecting the interest.
More than anything else.
I realize this is all based on several guesses that are way out there. But not everything that happens in this world fits together in a perfect line. Most of the events we don't understand are only individual points. By fitting them into a straight line, we're beginning to understand. When the points at either end of the line are really close, the line itself is more logical and easier to understand. And when those points are really far away, the opposite is true. It's the distance between these points that makes us say our guesses are way out there. However, if the distances we span are too narrow, that means our thinking will be narrow too. Is there a difference between making guesses and reasoning? Am I just using easily made guesses to try and force this crime into a pattern I can understand? No, that's not it. When you're lost in the dark and searching around with your hands, what you're doing is relying on your imagination and making guesses. Only imagination can find the points that need to be tied together. You're making me laugh.
You know that image of Patrick from SpongeBob where he's got like the board nailed to his head? That's me when Battler's talking about lines and points and imagination.
I still like to think of like us just being there as spectators to this entire thing. And like giving live commentary when they're saying these things, being like, shut your goofy up.
True, that'd be so funny.
Lines and points.
Just get to solving the epitaph.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're the Muppets. That's right.
Yeah.
The heckling. I don't remember what their names are.
I don't know either. I'll have to look it up real quick.
Reasoning is nothing more than the act of drawing lines between them. If you can't imagine, you can't reason.
Holy moly, their names are so good.
What are their names?
Statler and Waldorf.
That's right, Statler and Waldorf.
Whoa.
Statler and Battler.
Yo, Battler and, I don't know, George Dorf?
Rudorf.
Rudorf. Yo, I'm making fan art. I'll do it for the next thumbnail.
They are the two, like, hecklers of the family.
True, very true.
Alternate timeline where they get along with each other and just heckle everyone else.
Yeah.
What I'm doing now might be way out there, but I'm sure it isn't a mistake either. Only the power of imagination can pull clues out from the darkness. And then, I can use the power of reasoning to tie those clues together. Man over here sounding like Dr. Ratio.
I was gonna say, yo, Battler is an imagination, the Hunt DPS character.
It was a lot like the process of searching out an enemy's weak spot and striking. It's okay if I'm way out there. Find a weak point first. Then we can think about how to strike. Right now is the time to find points where we can tie together later.
Please. Pass the booth to some other character. Oh. Let someone else cook.
We're creeping
hurt.
slowly to the end of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
For the time being, I put aside whether a 19th person existed. I think we're at least 2/3 of the way through at this point.
Fingers crossed.
And announced our theory that the goal of the culprit might have been to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph. Uncle Hideyoshi seemed to be extremely interested, but Aunt Natsuhi said it was ridiculous and dismissed it.
Dang.
Of course. If you think about it that way, even that letter from yesterday makes sense. That motive seems to fit pretty well with the facts. Setting aside whoever it was that gave Maria-chan the letter.
Ooh! Beatrice exists! Ooh!
Even though she was puffing up her cheeks in a cute way she'd been doing since yesterday, I couldn't think of it as cute. If I poked fun at her, it might suddenly transform into a creepy laugh. There is no hidden gold. However, if the culprit is blindly sure of its existence, and if they're trying to make us solve the riddle before snatching the gold away for themselves, then I will agree it makes sense. Not saying you know the gold exists.
True, she be lying?
She be lying right now. I didn't pick up on that my first time around.
Hey.
However, if that were the case, why would they start killing? Well, why would they start by killing those most highly ranked in the Ushiromiya family?
I see your point. If they wanted to make us solve the riddle, killing those closest to Kenzo-san doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
That's true enough. And if we're going with that argument, wouldn't it have been quicker to threaten father in the first place? You'd think it'd be faster to just ask the person who wrote it, rather than try to force us to solve it.
You've got a point there. Still, I think it'd take more than your average threat to make father spill the beans. Anyone who knows Kenzo-san well would probably realize that he won't bow to ordinary threats.
He's the man who bears responsibility for the Ushiromiya family and all its vast wealth. He's been exposed to many threats and attacks in the past. The family only prospers today because he was able to overcome all of them.
I feel like that's like the only time we've ever seen her smile.
That's freaking right. I can't even imagine our grandfather obeying someone because of a threat. Jessica, watch your language.
There he goes.
Yeah. Yes, Mom. In that case, what about this idea? No, wait. Is this one also way out there? I couldn't hesitate. Out there ideas are like bows and arrows. It might be hard to hit with, but it's a great weapon because you can hit enemies far away. They say most people who've died in battles were killed by arrow wounds.
Here we go.
In a battle, you can't just shoot off one arrow.
And if you think about it, the arrow is like a point that takes a line to another point.
You shoot a whole bunch of arrows at once, pushing forwards towards the enemy troops with a wall of them.
What is this song? I'm gonna look up what
So
song
keep
it is.
shooting, over and over. Create a wall as you push forwards towards the truth. If the culprit is after the hidden gold, forcing us to solve the riddle wouldn't be very efficient for them. It'd be much quicker and easier to ask the person who made it in the first place. In that case, the question is this all a message directed at grandfather? In other words, these murders were a threat made against grandfather. If he didn't tell the culprit where the gold was, his family members would be killed off one by one. What if we weren't the only ones being forced to solve this riddle? What if Grandfather was too? If you think about it that way, it explains Grandfather's mysterious disappearance. If the culprit has already attacked Grandfather, then judging by the state the 6 corpses were left in, he should have been left on display somewhere with that horrible makeup added. But despite that, we still haven't found him. So does that mean Grandfather has been kidnapped and is being held somewhere? How could... You aren't saying... How could...
That sounds interesting. So Grandfather's being confined somewhere, and the culprit's saying we'll be killed off one by one if he doesn't tell them where the gold is?
It pains me to imagine how you find that interesting. Aunt Natsuhi glared at her, but Aunt Ava just smiled calmly.
Since we still haven't seen him after all this time, I think it's almost certain that Grandfather's gotten caught up in the crime.
Hey, that right.
If you think about it, it did, huh? You can't just ignore Batlacoon's theory, right? Be quiet, George. In the first place, when did Father actually disappear?
Who was the last person to see Father? It was probably me. This morning, when we didn't know where my husband and the rest were, we discussed the possibility of them being in Father's study, and I went to check his room and greeted him there. Come to think of it, I've been holding the key to his study this whole time, haven't I? Genji, let me return this to you. Aunt Natsuhi pulled out the gold key and handed it to Genji. Looking at the key, Aunt Ava giggled.
Hey, Genji-san. I'm sure the police will inspect Father's room thoroughly. If there's anything hidden there, it'll just be exposed anyway. So maybe it'd be better if you just told us about it right here, right now.
What are you talking about?
It's simple. Father studies a closed room with no way in or out except for that key, right?
Here we go. Closed room.
I want to verify whether that's true. There's one entrance to Father's study. Say it in... Never mind, we're not there yet. What about the window? Any other entrances or exits?
There are none. There is no way to get in except the entrance.
You're sure about that? There isn't some secret hidden door or anything? Since Father isn't here, I am the highest ranked member of the Ushiromiya family. I am asking you as a representative of the Ushiromiya family head. Remember that when you answer me. Are there any ways in or out of that room other than the main entrance? As Father's closest aide, I'm sure you would know.
And Nazi looked a little offended at the part about the highest-ranked family member. But she kept her mouth closed for the time being and waited for Genji's answer. I couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. Why was she going on and on about hidden doors?
You too, Kanon-kun, Kumasawa-san. If you know, won't you tell me? If there is one, it'd be better if you said so. Otherwise, a certain person might be driven into a corner in a second. If we assume that there is a hidden door, then my argument comes to nothing.
Aunt Ava didn't specify which person was about to be driven into a corner, but following the flow of the conversation, I had to feel that she was referring to Aunt Natsuhi.
Mother, what are you talking about? George, stay quiet for a bit. What do you say? Genji-san, Kanon-kun, or Kumasawa-san? Is there a hidden door? Or not? Genji-san, when you remodeled Father's study, you must have overseen the construction. I won't let you say you don't know.
There is nothing like that in the Master's study. I was going to answer you, but you just kept talking.
You're sure? What about Cannon-kun, one who's allowed to wear the one-winged eagle? That's right. I'm sure. There is no such hidden door in the Master's study. Kumasawa-san? No, I haven't heard of such a thing. What about Dr. Nanjo? You've had a close relationship with Father.
I have never heard of something like that.
Very well then. So, are you ready? Gosh, she's crazy. Let me begin. It's very simple.
Everyone tilted their head doubtfully, wondering what Aunt Eva was starting to talk about so proudly. Aunt Eva laughed triumphantly, as though she were about to reveal a secret only she knew.
Natsuhine-san was the last person to spot Father, right? I forget the exact time, but I think it was a little before 9 in the morning. Ne-san, do you remember? Oh my gosh, it's this song, Fishy Aroma. I ran into you just as you were coming out of Father's study, right?
Yes, I remember. What does that have to do with anything?
And when was the next time you went to visit Father's study? That was after we found the bodies of Nissan and the rest, right? Together with me, you went up to the study to report that, and we discovered that he wasn't there. Oh, by the way, Ne-san, at that time when you went to enter Father's study, did you notice anything?
Notice anything? What are you talking about?
Oh, come on. You picked up some trash, right? A folded receipt?
I do seem to remember picking up some trash. How is that relevant?
I got that receipt when I bought some candy at a store before arriving at the airport.
Aunt Eva pulled a small bag of candy out of her handbag.
Ah, the receipt from that candy you bought back there? But, Mother, what does that receipt have to do with anything?
George, stay quiet and listen for a bit longer.
Uncle Hideyoshi's expression was a little strict.
They're all, anytime he speaks, they're immediately like, George, shut up!
Apparently he understood what Aunt Eva was getting at.
It really was just a whim. I definitely didn't foresee anything, or try to set up a trap for Nazi and Ne-san or anything like that. Actually, about that receipt, Ne-san, you remember bumping into me right after the last time you saw Father, right? At that time, I wedged this into the door to the study.
So, what does that mean? Are you saying no one opened the door until Aunt Nazi picked up that receipt? Wait a second, Aunt Eva? Wedging a receipt in would be obvious. It's possible that when Grandfather opened the door, he noticed it, found it amusing, and stuck it back in the door. Jessica hurriedly argued back. She still didn't really know what all this meant. But she realized that whatever it was, it would raise suspicions about her own mother.
Of course, I folded the receipt up very small so that no one would notice it.
Oh yeah, okay, no one would notice it, okay.
But even if you assume that he saw it fall, he would have no way of knowing how high up the door it had been stuck, right? I checked it while Natsuhine-san was taking the key out. The receipt was still stuck not 1 millimeter away from where I put it.
I can't understand why you would pull such a childish prank. I'll bet you were the one who did that prank on the door to my room, too.
The door to your room?
It was unpleasant to talk about, so I never mentioned it. But when I woke up this morning, there were the signs of some prank on the outside of my door, with what was probably the same red paint that was scribbled across the shutter. There were some unpleasant marks, as though someone had been tearing at the door.
Wait, what's this? Why'd you keep quiet about this till now?
My apologies. Since so many horrible things have occurred since then, I had completely forgotten about it until this moment.
I don't know anything about that. I'm not talking about your door, but the door to Father's room, right? Between the time you confirmed that he was in his room and the time we confirmed that he wasn't, that door wasn't open even once. How did Father get out if he didn't use the door?
I don't know that. That's what I want to know.
Natsuhine-san, other than you, who else checked to see whether Father was in his room? Last night, the last time I met Kinzo-san was when we were playing chess. So, I was with him until just before dinner. Who saw him after that?
Me!
I did. I gave him his dinner last night.
Yes, Shannon and I were with him.
So at that time, Father was still definitely in his room. However, Natsuhine-san, when you found out he wasn't there, it looks like all ways in or out of the study were closed, right? But even so, you said you met with him this morning. I don't understand why everyone has become so gloomy. Could someone please explain it to me?
Father and Mother, are you saying that what Natsuhi says about meeting Grandfather this morning was a lie?
Like hell she'd lie about that. Mom's guiltless. Why would she lie? Jessica! I keep telling you to watch your language. All at once, the whole room was in an uproar. Aunt Ava and Aunt Natsuhi confronted each other across the parlor table, with George confronting Jessica. What the heck's going on?
Many people spotted him last night, right? But since this morning, the only one who claims to have seen Father is Natsuhine-san. And then there's that strange fact we learned from my receipt. So how can we connect these points together?
Aunt Ava urged everyone to imagine it. Sure, that receipt could become an important point, but I didn't know which other points to tie it to or how. If we try searching for the answer Aunt Ava probably wants, we'll find that Aunt Natsuhi lied and acted as though Grandfather was in the room this morning. Has that fact been exposed by a whim of Aunt Ava's? I don't get it at all. Why would Mom have to lie? She had no reason to, right?
That's what I want to know. But Jessica-chan, you can't be sure she had no reason to lie and say that Grandfather was in the room. After all, you see it in mystery novels every now and then. That trick where people fake the time of death to create an alibi for themselves?
What are you talking about? I've never heard of that.
El Riz, we still haven't found Father yet, but it's pretty natural to assume he's already been killed. If that's true, there's no doubt we'll find his corpse soon. If at that point the time of death could be cleverly faked, Natsuhine-san would be able to create an alibi. Do you understand? Everyone?
This morning, when Aunt Natsuhi confirmed that Grandfather was there, she lied. And he was already dead at that time. And then she moved the body to some other location and tampered with it so that when we find it, we'll think he was just killed a second ago. That'd make it possible for her to create an alibi, even just by staying with the rest of us. Then she could say, I heard someone screaming, dash over there, and become the first to find the body along with everyone else. Is that what Aunt Ava's saying?
Classic little trick.
Ridiculous. After all, detective novels are merely books for the purpose of entertainment. You can only think of such an indiscreet idea because you read them all the time.
Oh, what an accusation.
That's right! Even if she did try to fake the time of death a little, all that would be blown away in an instant once the police did their autopsy. That might have worked in the past, but do you really think that kind of trick would work in modern Japan? It doesn't make sense.
You think so? This morning, when Dr. Nanjo looked at the corpses, he was only able to give a vague estimate of the time of death, right?
I will remind you I am not a surgeon.
Dr. Nanjo, be quiet. Autopsy results are very easily affected by the environment and individual differences. It's a very relative estimate with an uncertainty of several hours. And unfortunately, the police's scientific investigation will have to wait until tomorrow. It wouldn't be easy to measure the correct time of death so accurately, even in modern Japan. Isn't that right, Dr. Nanjo?
Examining a corpse is an extremely difficult task that requires both experience and instinct. I have heard that there is a very high chance of a mistaken diagnosis. I imagine it is very possible for a misreading of just a few hours to occur. However, for an alibi, that's more than enough. It's an old trick. It's a trick that works well enough. Natsuhei-san, it's not like we want to suspect you, okay?
No, I think Ava very much does.
I do, yes.
We just want you to prove your innocence so we don't have to suspect you.
Oh, she's strapped.
Here we go.
What is this innocence you want me to prove?
Gunsuhi.
This morning, I definitely met with Father, and he told me to keep the one-winged eagle engraved in my heart.
Alright, true or not true, not the best time to say that.
Are you denying that he said that, too? I will certainly not permit that. I won't let you deny that Father said those words.
Is this where we get the funny Ava CG? I can't remember.
I think we might get it again, yo.
Or maybe Father's body won't appear anywhere. Normally, a person has to be missing for 7 years before they're officially dead. Wouldn't that be a clever way to extend Father's nearly finished life another 7 years and keep all of his wealth for yourself? Holy moly! Yeah, here it is. I'm gonna need this.
I can't let you get away with saying that.
I know what's coming on the other side.
I can't let you get away with saying any more. I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Although I do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle on my body, it is certainly engraved in my heart. What do you think you're saying to the wife of Kraus, successor to the head, and the one who will act as such in his place?
That's that. I
Here
need
we
this
go.
picture. I need this picture real quick. Also, what is this song? This isn't. No, it's not this. I don't know what this is that it be going so wicked fast, but oh well. Alright.
She's not even sighting that thing.
Mm-mm. She's got that fan on tap. What's this? Are you going to shoot me with that gun? I love
should.
that line so much. Go ahead. If only you just shoot. You're just desperate because you can't think of a way out, right? Do it. Just try to obscure the truth with violence.
You... It wasn't like Aunt Natsuhi had been actually holding that gun at the ready and threatening anyone. But as she was egged on by Aunt Ava, she did hold it at the ready.
I was gonna say.
Unsurprisingly, once things got to this stage, Jessica and Genji-san tried to stop her.
Madam, please, calm yourself.
Mom, you aren't lying, so there's no reason for you to listen to this.
Calm down, Natsuhi-san. All you've got to do is swear that Father definitely was in that room. Why are you getting so worked up? Do not ask that! That is correct. Natsuhi-san isn't lying. Shouldn't that be the end of it?
Then I want you to explain. How did Father manage to disappear from the room? The window was closed tight from the inside. The same was true for the door, right? This morning, if you really met with Father, then you must explain how Father disappeared from this unopenable door, closed room scenario. If you don't, that means you're lying after all, right?
How far do you plan to mock me?
If you want to argue back, go ahead. That's right, try explaining it right here, right now. If you do, I'll apologize for suspecting you. How did manage Father to get out from that closed room?
You switched some words there.
Huh? No, I didn't. I'm looking for the song on the other monitor. I'm tweaking.
I cannot explain, and there's no need for me to do so.
I found the song. It's called Night Eyes.
Night Eyes.
Yeah. Really? Then let me explain it. Let's take the best parts from my perspective and yours and come up with a more friendly explanation. I'll believe what you said about Father still being in his room this morning. However, the next time the door was opened, Father wasn't there. You don't have any objections so far, right?
I have no desire to hear anything more you have to say. Shut your frivolous mouth.
Whoa, frivolous. Yo, new visual just dropped. Also, I'm just remembering how this whole thing gets resolved and it's making me wheeze because I remember what happens, but anyway. My reasoning goes like this, okay? I can confirm that on both occasions you were the only one to go through that door. And the receipt proves it. So, what's the answer to the puzzle of how Father left the room? The window! He was sent out the window. Sent out. Natsuhine-san, you threw Father out of the third-story window of the study into the courtyard.
You!
Madam, please endure it. Eva-sama, please stop this! After that, when you left and said you were going to check the doors and windows, you took Father's corpse which had fallen in the courtyard and hid it. That was probably when you took some measures to fake the time of death, right?
This ties in with the case regarding Krasne-san and the rest, and also the case regarding Beatrice last night. There's a really good chance we've got reason to suspect Natsuhi-san in all those cases. Normally, I wouldn't want to say this, but now that it's out in the open, there's nothing else I can do. Please, Natsuhi-san, please explain how you can be innocent. Otherwise, I can't help but suspect you.
Why me? Why must I, Ushiromiya Natsuhi, be insulted like this?
Zenzen dameda.
Looks like we've got everyone's views on record now.
Oh, shoot, here we go.
It's useless. It's all useless.
He said that's the line. Zenzen dameda. Holy moly.
Aunt Ava. What do you mean, useless? Jessica looked up at me, hanging on to my every word. Aunt Ava's expression was confident as ever.
Oh, here we go. Useless, you say? What is? Battler-kun, tell me.
You're only convinced it was Aunt Natsuhi because you're only looking at the case from a single angle.
Oh.
It's not like I'm defending her, but that bluff of a checkmate isn't gonna fly. I think your reasoning regarding that receipt was passable. It's not a bad thread of logic, but I'd only give it a grade of 65 at best. If this were an exam, that'd be bad enough to get you extra lessons in detention, right?
Dang, he's so hard for that. Oh my! Well, how do you think anyone could break through the door sealed by my receipt and make Father disappear? Other than by my theory.
It's true that your theory's an interesting one. And if you could say for sure that there was no way to make Grandfather disappear, then you probably would be able to prove that the last person to see him, Aunt Natsuhi, was guilty. However, since there still is a possibility she's innocent, and these accusations are false, we can't be sure about that.
Then Battler-kun, are you saying someone other than Natsu-ne-san made Grandfather disappear? It'd be impossible for anyone else to do it. My receipt proved that, right? After the first time she visited that study, and until the second time when we visited together, the study was a perfect closed room, and when the seal was broken on the closed room, he was already missing. If that doesn't prove she's the culprit, what kind of trick could they have used?
Like I said, Aunt Ava, only 65 points.
Gah.
So let's try spinning the chessboard around, shall we?
Ooh.
Every time. The question isn't how someone managed to make Grandfather disappear from the outside. We should think about how Grandfather disappeared from the inside.
Ooh.
The door had the receipt stuck in it, so it couldn't have been used. He also couldn't have gone through the window, because you can't lock it from the outside, and when Aunt Eva visited the study, she checked to make sure it was locked. So the window also wasn't used. At that point, the study really was a closed room. We have to accept this. However, the study didn't remain a closed room forever. Once the seal created by the receipt was removed, it would be possible for someone to escape by the door. In other words, the question isn't how Aunt Natsuhi made Grandfather disappear. We need to think about how he was able to escape.
Oh.
Grandfather's study isn't an ordinary study, right? According to Genji-san, there's a toilet and a kitchen and even a bedroom. Almost like a little house. For example, what if he was hiding under the bed and the two of you only thought he was missing? Aunt Eva, even you didn't check that far, right? And then the two of you went back down the stairs thinking he wasn't there. At that time, the receipt was already gone. In other words, if Grandfather was hiding in his room the whole time it was a closed room, and escaped after letting the two of you go past him, we can crack this closed room right open.
What are you talking about? Why would Father need to escape the room in such a bizarre fashion? Don't be so absurd.
Yeah, it might be absurd. However, it still shows that there's a possibility Aunt Natsuhi is being falsely accused. Your receipt wasn't perfect. In chess, we might call that check, but it isn't checkmate. But the thing that really pisses me off is how you're pressuring Aunt Natsuhi to explain it, then claiming that she must be guilty if she doesn't. If you want to go down that road, then why don't you let me, Ushiromiya Battler, spin the chessboard around one more time? Aunt Eva, according to your own argument, you must explain to us why you and Uncle Hideyoshi couldn't have killed those 6 last night and then casually returned to the guest house. You've been trying to force Aunt Natsuhi to explain, so I'm sure you can prove your own innocence, right? Especially now that all of Grandfather's wealth has suddenly plopped down right into your hands. That's right. You're suspicious enough yourself, aren't you? If you say Mom's suspicious because she was the last person to see him, then what about you, Aunt Eva, the last person to see Dad and the rest? Just like Battler said, prove that you two weren't the ones who killed them.
Mother, I also think your reasoning was a little overeager. I'm sure the receipt was an important hint. But like Batler-kun said, that's not enough to prove that Aunt Natsuhi was responsible for some plot. We're all equally suspicious. It's not right for only Aunt Natsuhi to be persecuted. Our proud father crawling under his bed. You call nonsense like that an explanation?
Oh, she said that fast. In that case, why don't you explain first? Who killed those 6 and how, and then try showing us proof that you weren't involved?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Ha She has asthma. Milady. Milady.
Jessica suddenly started coughing. At first, I thought she was just choking after yelling too loud, but before long, I realized how painful it looked. Jessica kept coughing and choking down on her hands and knees. Jessica, hang in there. Dr. Nanjo.
Jessica-san, your inhaler, quickly. No, wait. I have one with me.
Dr.
He's
Nanjo
strapped.
pulled a... Why do you make me say these things, game? Bronchodilator inhaler from his own bag, which was lying on the sofa, and handed it to Jessica. It's just a funny sounding word.
I think it's a bronchocrocodile.
Come to think of it, 6 years ago, didn't Jessica sometimes break into violent coughing fits and have to use that? However, 6 years ago, I never saw Jessica look like she was in this much pain.
Okay, fair enough. I was gonna say, it's so odd for him to be like, you know, now that she mentions it.
Aniki, was Jessica's asthma always this bad?
It's gotten a lot worse these last few years. It's no problem when she's normal. But when an attack comes suddenly, she can't stop coughing anymore. Cough, cough. Wow. Milady, your medicine. Here.
Taking the inhaler from Canon-kun, Jessica used it with a practiced hand.
Practiced, wow.
It looked like her throat would still itch for a while. But she had it under control. Are you okay, Jessica? You scared me.
It's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
Beads of sweat covered Jessica's whole body, and she couldn't hide her rough breathing, but it looked like her sudden attack had calmed down for now. This disturbance had made the dangerous atmosphere up until now seem slightly unfocused. But that's fine. That kind of battle of mutual suspicion is completely unnecessary. When you think about it, finding alibis for each other and looking for the culprit is probably meaningless. After all, we're just powerless, ordinary people. And when the police come tomorrow, they'll definitely employ cutting-edge techniques and investigate the case thoroughly, solving all the riddles and arresting the culprit.
Perhaps Batler-kun is right after all. Just as Natsuhi-san is suspicious, I can't ignore the fact that I'm suspicious too. Arguing about that now will surely be unproductive. Everything will be fine if we just leave it to the police tomorrow. But don't you want to know too, Batler-kun? Who the culprit is? Don't you want to let them know the pain you feel from losing someone precious to you as soon as possible?
Okay. I won't deny that. Even one day would be too long to let the wonderful bastard who's behind this go. But that doesn't mean that I want to suspect one of the 18. Even though I said what I said earlier, I don't even want to suspect you, Aunt Eva. To me, you're an awesome aunt who's always fun and playful. I don't want to trade insults with an aunt like that. I wouldn't want to do that with anyone here. right? Everyone?
I feel the same way as Batlacoon. It's pointless to trade insults. It's probably just the stress built up because so many people have been crammed in one place since morning.
Probably. It is only natural. It may not be my place to say it, but I think we should all relax as much as possible.
Maria, what's your opinion on all this? She was just quietly sitting in the room while they were accusing each other of murder, huh?
Ava. I think we better cool our heads too. The receipt's definitely a big clue for figuring out how Father disappeared. We should tell the police about it when they come.
That's right. Right. I just felt a little triumphant when I figured out that part with the receipt. Of course, it isn't fair to only suspect Nazi Nason, right? We are just as suspicious. But still, Batlacoon? At least the part about the receipt is real, okay? Don't forget it. And try thinking deeply about what it means one more time, okay?
Okay.
Shampoo.
A lot of ellipses. Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi stood up and danced away. No. It looked like they planned on leaving the parlor.
In the end, it's pointless for us to keep playing detectives. After all, the police will reveal everything anyway.
Dang, kind of inconvenient the literal detective got killed in the first bout, huh?
Oops.
That's right. Even if we don't play this detective game, the typhoon will pass. And when those lively seagulls return to the harbor, everything will settle itself.
The Umineko.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you think about it, this kind of crime is completely trivial. It's only 6 of our family members dead.
Yeah.
It will definitely be resolved. Even
Yeah.
though we all have also been talking about how we're probably also going to be targeted within the next 24 hours. Even if we do nothing. When the seagulls cry.
Umineko no Naku Koro ni.
Korone, the hit VTuber.
Yeah. Nazi Nason, I take it you don't want to see my face anymore. Holy moly. I feel the same.
At least she's real.
True. If I remember correctly, yesterday you had some rooms prepared for us in the mansion so that we wouldn't need to go back to the guest house, right? Those should each have a bath and a toilet, as well as a lock and a chain to secure the door. There's even a bed to lie on, and my husband will be able to watch TV without having to fight with Maria-chan over which channel to watch, right? Gun.
Do whatever you want. But make sure to be cautious.
Thank you, Nason. And mind your own business. I'll be counting on you to keep an eye on everyone, okay? Because the culprit is definitely here. And Nason, make sure you don't forget to keep an eye on yourself, too. Not sure if condescending or nice.
Have you finished taking your parting shots?
Yes, I'm finished. See you, Nazi Nason. Genji-san, let us know when it's time for dinner. Until then, we out.
What she said. Genji, Canon, escort them to the guest room.
We'll be fine. I hate shady escorts. In fact, I'd be more comfortable if nobody leaves this room until we reach ours. Let's go, George. Ooh. I'll stay here with everyone. George, the culprit is in this room. Do you plan on staying in a place like that? Leaving this room would be the same as suspecting one of my relatives. I can't believe anyone in our family is capable of something that horrible.
The divided opinions. 18th or 19th person.
18.5 compromise. George! Darling, you tell him too.
George is already an adult man. If his code tells him not to leave this room, then it's up to him. Let him do what he wants.
Father.
Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi left. The only voice that called after them was the sound of the rain. We got some bars this stream.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to shoot me with that gun? That's one of my favorites.
The parlor was being buried beneath the savage atmosphere. When I look at the clock, I was surprised to find that it was already evening. Oops, already dinner time. Go get Eva and Hideyoshi.
Yeah.
Had we really spent that much time worrying about needless things, talking with each other, fighting with each other? Feeling bored, I started scratching at my head when I noticed some dandruff. Oh, Maria and I made eye contact. I was a little surprised, since I thought she was completely immersed in the TV. I believe it now. Huh? The letter, the murders, everything. It was all Beatrice.
Yup.
In fact, I almost feel like begging her to come out and take credit for it all. I want it to be the work of a 19th person. Otherwise, the 18 of us will have to keep on suspecting each other. I think believing in a 19th person is better than that. Bringing grandfather outside without opening the doors or the windows must be a piece of cake for Beatrice, right?
Here we go.
Maria, after taking a single short breath, hung her head and then raised her face again.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. Locking a door is useless against a witch.
You knew this was gonna happen when you
Beatrice
did
is
this.
familiar with all 72 demons.
Holy moly.
The 33rd ranked Gop gives the power to instantly carry the desired person to any location. To her, taking a person out of any closed room isn't hard at all, you see.
Witches sure are incredible. Tell her, if she feels like committing another crime, to do it in a way that no human could. And make me believe that a 19th person, no, a witch, exists.
Okay. If I meet her, I'll tell her.
Okay.
Crap. Nothing's made sense to me for
Holy.
a while now. Holy crap. Lois, this is just like that time I was one of the servants at the Ushiromia family conference. Just when I want to believe in a 19th person, I deny it. And just when I want to believe there are only 18 people, I deny that too.
Yup.
Even though I want there to be more than just the 18 people here, I can't accept the existence of that 19th person. In short, even though there are more than 18 people, there are less than 19 people.
18.5.
The number of people in this mansion is... Oh god, wait.
Oh, come on.
19 more than X more than 18? Greater
That's-
than,
yeah,
I should say.
Yeah, greater than, yeah.
So the number of people can't be represented by an integer. Last time I did math was 4 years ago. in like school. Although I will say, I do hold pride in the fact that I can still do a lot better than most other content creators I see on the internet who struggle
Yeah.
doing like multiplication. I can still do multiplication and division and all that stuff. However, Gura, however, it's impossible for there to be anything after the decimal point. You shouldn't be able to show the number of people with anything but an integer. And yet, 19 greater than x greater than 18. How do you explain the fraction less than 1? It's no wonder that 19th person was something that couldn't be seen. That's why since you can only write the number of people as an integer. You couldn't see that person. That witch cannot be seen, because Beatrice has no body. Therefore, she is invisible. Is there a 19th person? Or not? Does the witch exist or not? 19 greater than x greater than 18.
It's like an asymptote.
The witch exists somewhere in that x.
Constantly approaching 0 but never reaching it. He alone is Satoru Gojo. Oh gosh. I didn't expect the glass break.
Who would win, Beatrice or Satoru Gojo?
Beatrice, no cap.
Beatrice? I don't know
Yep.
much about Beatrice, so I can't really argue. So,
Yep.
although it does seem, from what we lightly get set up with in episode 1, if you assume it all to have actually just been done by Beatrice, she does seem pretty strong.
Yeah, we'll get more into the witch mythos later, clearly. But yeah, the witches in this game, if you believe in the witches and everything that happens as the witches, they are god tier strong.
I
So-
do know, a little spoilers for later, in episode 2, I do know that it is mentioned that basically the guy that figured out how to do magic in the beginning was Jesus. So, if that explains anything.
Also, and we'll get to it later eventually, but the only way to harm witches makes them very not susceptible to normal combat standards.
Dang.
So Gojo would have like no way to actually fight.
Dang.
Not really anyway. But we'll get to that next chapter.
The uncomfortable atmosphere continued even after those two left.
He alone.
It was thick with the idea that simply thinking about the culprit's identity would be the same as deciding whom to suspect. It had begun to feel like discussion of the case was itself taboo. So no one mentioned the case, at least out loud. However, those thoughts were what filled our minds. All we couldn't say aloud made our heads feel like they were going to explode. So at least on the outside, the parlor had once again regained its calm mood. Everything was left unsettled.
It feels like the grain's gotten a little lighter.
Oh? Still pouring down. Oh.
Even if it did stop, there's no boat on this island. But it'd be nice if the boat came quickly tomorrow. I've had enough of this Western Mansion vacation. Mom, when will the boat come tomorrow? Normally, the boat to take them back would arrive at 3 o'clock today. They probably sent us a phone call to say that they would come after the typhoon passed, but unfortunately the phones aren't working. But they aren't children over there. They were told to both drop off and collect our guests, so they will most likely arrive first thing tomorrow morning. Probably about 9 o'clock, I believe. It was completely black outside. When I looked at the clock, I realized that it was just past 7. I was starting to get hungry. In the kitchen, Kumasawa-san was cooking enthusiastically. There was no San there.
No son.
She had laid out a variety of dishes, and while they didn't match the level of Goda's artful cooking, they were still quite gorgeous.
Mackerel.
It was an act of kindness from Kumasawa, who was trying to enliven everyone's low spirits with some food. Kumasawa wasn't nearly as talented as a professional cook like Goda, but she was far from unskilled. On the contrary, since she had been brought up in a fishing village, the simple food she created was sometimes highly praised.
Man.
Kanon arranged the food Kumasawa had finished creating on plates under her direction. Kanon also helped in the kitchen sometimes, but since he was rarely placed in that role, he was slightly awkward, even though he tried his best. Self-conscious about the fact that he couldn't cleverly arrange the food, Kanon's expression darkened slightly. But Kumasawa smiled, as though everything was fine.
Oh, it's arranged beautifully. Canon-kun, aren't you skilled? If it had been Shannon-ne-san, it would look even more beautiful.
Canon stopped arranging the food for a bit and hung his head. Shannon was the one who always assisted Kumasawa in her cooking. Tonight, Canon was doing it instead.
Womp womp.
And as he remembered Shannon's face and her brutal end, he grimaced. Forget that for now. Genji spoke kindly to Canon as he advanced upon. Nanjo had escaped from the parlor once the mood had grown sour, and Genji had become his opponent in a game of chess upon Nanjo's request.
Sorry, I'm reading a comment under the Battler theme music where he was talking about spinning the chessboard around and stuff. I gotta read you this comment because it's hilarious.
Okay.
And this is that really upbeat one where it was like bum 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 bum. And he says, me trying to explain how it's just an Umineko reference when I turn the chessboard around at a professional chess tournament, explaining how we are actually watching a game from a higher plane in the meta world. We're trying to find the truth of what happened on the 4th and 5th of October 1986, and how explaining my cat is actually a witch that should serve her black tea and dried plum in order to avoid angering an almost omnipotent higher power while simultaneously slapping the other contestant and accusing them of murdering an entire family on a secluded Japanese island no one's ever heard of. But they wouldn't understand. It's just an Umineko reference. Shaking my head incompetent.
Umineko fans really are a different breed, huh?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry, I really like that. That's so good that that's on that song. Yes, I will forget it for now.
Indeed. That is probably for the best. Genji purposely refrained from facing Canon as he spoke. He did so because he understood that it might make things tougher on Canon if he noticed that someone was looking at his eyes. Nanjo also understood that and held back from any thoughtless words.
I wonder where Kinzo-san has gone. I hope that he is safe, but I do not know. However, I believe everything has proceeded as the Master has hoped and arranged for. To distrust that would exceed my role as furniture in service to the Master. Aren't you scared, Genji-san? I am frightened that something bad will occur again tonight.
I have nothing to be afraid of. I serve the Ushiromiya family, and that is all. Nanjo sighed through his nose and made a carefully considered move. Nanjo was very slightly dubious. Could Genji possibly be thinking that he'd be left out of this? He couldn't even imagine what was happening inside this mansion. But he definitely couldn't deny the possibility that Kinzo had devised something. If you liken this island to chess, Kinzo had opened the game, and as a result, 6 pieces had been defeated. How have they ended up in this situation, in this chess game, with all these pieces gone, even though they're both still mainly on their sides of the board?
I don't know.
I don't know. Could it be that Genji was calm because he believed he alone was on the outside of the chessboard and therefore safe? Nanjo thought about it. In a world of chess pieces, I alone am a checker piece. Isn't everyone just a piece on this chessboard, lined up equally without any exceptions?
Chess pieces aren't equal at all. That's kind of the point of the game.
Wasn't even Genji, who had gained more of Kinzo's trust than anyone? No. Who was confident of his position as Kinzo's only close friend? Just another yawn! One of the pieces laid out on the chessboard?
Genji-san, I agree with that comment that Percy just made in the stream. I'm truly frightened about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I hope with all my heart that we will be safe when tomorrow morning comes.
Twin Peaks music. Minute Darkness. Ooh, okay. I feel like this is our good stopper point because you gotta go by 6:30, right?
I don't have to go by 6:30, but I would probably be inconveniencing other people if I didn't go by 6:30.
Yeah, it's fine anyway because, like I said, I've been awake since 4 a.m. So I've been up for like 14 hours. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, I guess some sleep. This would be a very good stopping point, though. We have a scene shift. We're switching over to Eva and Hideyoshi in their private room that they have gone to together.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what will happen next?
Tensions continue to rise, but no new developments of any sort. Not yet anyway, other than just them yelling at each other more and more.
True, although we did get a really good CG this episode with Natsuhi and Eva staring each other down.
Now, I'll ask you right now, what's your take on the Kinzo in his room situation?
Oh, man.
Again, playing devil's advocate.
I know,
it's
it's kind of hard because initially I was gonna do the, he just got out of the window and somehow climbed down like he had something prepared where he climbed down the side of the house. But then they mentioned the thing where the window can't be locked from the outside, and they checked it afterwards and it was still locked, which means he couldn't have opened it because he couldn't have locked it from the outside even if he closed it back.
Yep.
So the window's not possible. It's really funny to go with Battler's line of thinking, and from what we know of Kinzo, I think it would be completely in character for Kinzo to just be so petty to his family as to hide under the bed, wait for them to walk in, then walk out, and then sneak out afterwards. That would be really funny. Probable? No.
No. No, if he wanted to leave, he probably would have just left in between.
He probably would have just left in between.
But the receipt. She's got the receipt.
Now, we could also play the very unlikely game of Kinzo opens the door, sees the receipt fall out, like Jessica said, thought it was cute or something, and was like, oh, I'll put that back, and happened to put it back in the exact, or roughly enough that it wasn't cause of suspicion, same spot where it was when he closed the door. That could have been it, too.
Maybe, but I still think that's an Occam's razor looking at debate argument.
It is, but if we're playing the how did he get out with these circumstances existing, like, we got very, very few strings to pull at here, I think.
Do we?
Okay, give me something. Give me something.
I can't because I know the truth.
Well, can you give me something that's not the truth so that I can start narrowing it down? No.
Let me think. Not really. Not without spoiling stuff. It's hard.
Okay.
Just keep your mind more open. Don't think. Not everybody in this is a reliable narrator.
Not everybody in this is a reliable narrator. But we did see. Whoa. Wait. Oh my, you're totally right. Natsuhi was being accused of lying, but the entire time no one even accused Eva of lying about the receipt. She could have just lied that she put the receipt there. Only she supposedly saw it and put it there. Holy moly.
That's what you gotta think. You gotta prep your brain for thinking like every single accusation that way.
Oh my goodness, it was totally directed that way too. She was trying to put all the blame on Natsuhi so no one would think about that. It was made that way to make me think in that line of thought, and it worked. I didn't think about the possibility that she was just lying.
Exactly. You never expect that.
Wow.
You never expect someone to just commit and lie that hard. Now I'm not gonna say what your line is correct, but you're on the right path now.
Okay. Well, that's something to think about.
Yeah, you as well, audience at home. Consider how did Kinzo get out? Again, no spoilers, or I will ban you on site. And I check the email and stuff more often, so I'll probably see it before Levi does.
Oh yeah, I never check the email.
But if you're a newbie to this story as well, put your guess. How did Kinzo get out of the room? Did Kinzo get out of the room? What's the situation with Kinzo's room? Is there a war right
just
now?
Under the bed right now.
Exactly, but actually maybe, right? Where is he? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Kinzo's Terran pilled right now and just going, it would be funny.
And he just might. But that's okay. Maybe we'll figure it out next time.
On Umineko no Naku Koroni.
Bum bum. Otherwise, we're going to be having another video coming out Saturday. I'm not sure what I'm going to do just yet. I think I have 2 games left to pick from. Or maybe I only have 1, I can't remember. But there'll be a funny group video coming out Saturday, funny Elden Ring video coming out Monday, and Castlevania 2 Tuesday.
I was just about to say, we're keeping on with Castlevania, aren't we?
Yep, for the time being, I'll go to Castlevania 2. I did a little bit of practice. I didn't play through a whole lot of the game, but I just wanted to get a feel for the game in case they like drastically change the controls. Seems like Castlevania 2 is a lot easier in terms of like the combat.
I've heard that they just get not progressively easier, but like as the more complicated, or I guess complicated, basically as they started to understand the formula of the games, they get a little bit easier. But yeah, I for one really enjoyed the first Castlevania stream. I thought it was really fun.
Thanks. I had a good time. I didn't think we were going to beat the whole game in one stream, and yet.
Short old retro games, man.
I just thought we were going to be stuck because how hard it is. The only reason we won, spoilers, is because we save scummed death because we had to.
True, if you had been playing it, that could have been the challenge run.
Yeah.
No save scumming.
That would have taken forever. Oh my gosh. But anyway, that's it for today, I figure. Join us next week for other stuff. More Umineko, more Castlevania, more Elden Ring, and more, I don't know, Taryn and Ashlyn.
Taryn and Ashlyn.
Yeah. That'll be Saturday's
We need
video.
to get them to do their own videos, just the 2 of them.
We can have Taryn and Ashlyn do Higurashi on like Fridays.
Yo.
I would pay money to watch that, but anyway. Okay, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye. Stop streaming button has